Welcome to Lyme Support Network podcast, hosted by Holistic Therapy Tribe. In each episode, we talk with someone from the Lyme community, like doctor, warrior, coach, advocate, or an entrepreneur, to hear their personal story and insights. Today, our focus is on Lyme advocate and an educator. Welcome to today's episode. We have joined by Dr. Nancy Fox, a Lyme disease warrior and educator, who has dedicated her life to raise awareness and educating others about Lyme and tick-borne diseases. After years of battling multiple illnesses, Dr. Fox discovered the root cause of her symptoms through a doctor specializing in Lyme disease. Through her dissertation and research, Dr. Fox found that children are the most underserved population in terms of Lyme and tick-borne disease prevention and awareness. In response, she founded LEAF program, aimed at eradicating this disease through education. Over the years, she has authored several children's books, including No Ticks Please and No Tick Please, Hide and Seek, and created a K-12 curriculum for schools to educate students about the tick bite prevention. Her education and awareness summer tour has reached over 15,000 children across 16 states, and in 2025, she launched the Tick Alert, the Quest for Safety, a prevention game. Dr. Fox is continuing her mission with a new middle school integrated curriculum on tick bite prevention, set to be released in the coming years. Stay tuned as we dive into Dr. Fox's journey and the incredible impact she's making in the fight against Lyme disease. Welcome, Dr. Fox. Dr. Fox, your journey into Lyme disease awareness began after you and your father were diagnosed with Lyme. Can you tell us a bit about the experience and what inspired you to focus on educating others?
Thank you so much for having me today. Yes, my dad was diagnosed with a skin rash, but the dermatologist didn't really know what it was, so he said to get a second opinion. And at the same time, about a week before we went to a Lyme literate doc, I had a speech problem. Finding out later it was Bell's palsy, and my dad still had bullseye rashes all over his body. So as we went to the Lyme literate doc, the Lyme literate doc, when we got in to see him, I introduced my dad. And he directly looked at me and said, "Forgive me for saying so, but you have a speech problem." And he took my hand, and it seemed atrophied, and to him, and he said, "I think you should be tested, but we're here to look at your dad." And when my dad took off his shirt and showed that he had bullseye rashes all over his body, the doctor was disgusted because of how this could go on for so long. So, I did agree to get tested, and I did agree to go on treatment that evening. What I didn't tell you is that morning, I had a lab test for Lyme disease.
Mm.
The morning test was negative. The one with the Lyme literate doc was CDC positive, all in the same day. So that's how we got to the point where my dad was being treated for Lyme and I was being treated for Lyme disease, babesiosis, and anaplasmosis.
Okay. So when was it? So it is quite long back.
This was in 2003, May 16th, 2003.
So at that time, the number of Lyme doctors, Lyme literate doctors were maybe it is big few. Nowadays we have much more.
And the only way we found this doctor is because the friends of my father and told him that he should go see him. Otherwise, I don't know if I'd been diagnosed because I had a negative with the general practitioner.
Yeah. So you have written several books and created curriculum for K-12 students. What do you think is the most effective way to teach children about tick safety and Lyme disease prevention?
Well, I believe we also have a tour during the summer, and I believe being in there with the kids and teaching them. The reason why I wrote the curriculum is because I would like it to be integrated into schools. I have taught for 30 years plus, and I know when you're right there with kids, you can answer their questions and all of that. I wrote the books to get started because there were no books about ticks and what happens with ticks, and the first book was a picture book, and it basically, no ticks please, basically covers up to second grade, so you can start talking to your child about bugs, specifically a tick, because they're always talking. Little ones are always talking, oh, it's a bug, and some are not happy about a bug, some of them are curious. So starting that conversation at a really young age is a great thing, and that was the purpose of No Ticks Please. Then I had a colleague in my doctoral program who was Spanish speaking, so we made that book also bilingual, English and Spanish. And then the other book is No Tick Hide and Seek No Ticks Please, was to bring the story to later in elementary school, elementary, lower middle school students, so that they would start to become aware of their ticks and they may cause illness. And that helps the parent as well have a avenue for teaching their
Mm.
child about this. And then also the curriculum is about, I have learned in the last 7 years, and one of my colleagues that goes on tour with me in the summer said, I feel like we're just missing so many kids because we can only get to so many in such a little
Yeah.
time. And it's like a drop in the ocean. And not many people, I think we're the only ones that I know we're the only ones that totally focus on education. Others have a supplemental piece that they share with everyone else, but our total focus is education, because I believe if I had known more about ticks when I was a child or as a teenager, young adult, that I would done a little more to protect myself, knowing the impact that a possible tick bite may have on a human being.
So you mentioned that children aged between 5 to 14 are at the highest risk of acquiring tick-borne diseases. What are some of the key lessons you believe parents and schools should be focusing on to protect children from these dangers?
Well, we came up with superheroes, and there are three superheroes. Number one is repellent and dressing. If you're going out, and we kind of laugh about this, but it's true. The more you protect the tick from being able to crawl up your pants or crawl onto your socks and under your pant leg, kids have misconceptions. I just heard this summer. They have misconception. Well, if you wear long pants, it's enough. It's not enough if you have to tuck your pants into your socks. And I've yet to go to a camp or where kids are playing in the summer where they're wearing long pants. Occasionally some leggings, but rarely. So I thought it would be best to talk about the repellent piece. Now, Sawyer is our sponsor, and they do have a skin repellent, which doesn't have any odor, which I talked to a few preteens a couple weeks ago, and they were, I don't, obviously, I was so amazed this year when I asked how many kids are wearing repellent today. In groups of 60, 3 to 4 may have raised their hand. And those preteens told me the reason why they didn't want to wear repellent was because of the bug spray odor,
Hmm.
which the repellent is your first superhero, your super way to protect yourself. So I found out all these things from the kids who are teaching me every day. The second thing is a daily tick check. Um, Without a daily tick check, you don't know if you have a tick on you, has crawled on you, and has attached itself. So every day when you take a shower, every day you should check your pet. Every day you should, and multiple times a day because you may catch them. What we found is that a lint roller can catch the crawling ticks. So if you just roll a lint roller all over your body or use the tick mitt that has just come out, and they will gather into that material so you can avoid the tick getting attached. So daily tick checks. The third thing is that you must know how to remove a tick if you find
Hmm.
one. And we call that superhero Rhea Moval. Rhea is a character on our superheroes, and many people don't know how to remove a tick properly. So that is one thing we'd like: repellent, daily tick checks, and removal properly.
So on your site, I saw that song, how to remove. So it was so nice. It was, and
Oh, well, thank you. My vice president, Kennedy, who actually featured on that site, wrote the song and we tweaked it a little bit, and the kids love it.
mm, yeah. So in between that claps and all is so nice.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much. She would. I will let her know.
Mm. Yeah. So, what are some of the biggest challenges you have faced in spreading awareness about Lyme disease and how you have overcome them?
Okay, biggest challenge. It's funny because this summer I called some camps in Niagara Falls, and the director of those camps says, "You really do this?" So she seemed to think that I was, and some of that, sometimes that happens. People don't believe that's what I spend my summers doing, or my life doing, is teaching people about, and children especially, about ticks and tick prevention. And so that's one thing, the disbelief that that is so important that I would take my time to do it. Another thing is getting curriculum embedded into schools so that every child, especially in the endemic areas, would have this information on a continuous basis and on an ongoing from grade to grade so they become masters at it. Those are my two biggest challenges. I think so. Yes.
So, your books, No Ticks Please and Hide and Seek, No Ticks Please, are beautifully illustrated and educational. How do you think storytelling can be used to engage younger audience in learning about Lyme disease?
Well, kids love stories. I mean, if you're going to get to a kid, you got to tell them a story. So that's how that came to be. My mom, she told me when I was a young girl that my writing was beautiful to her. And so I keep that with me all the time. And I felt like if I was going to teach kids, um, and parents really, because if you're reading to your child, the best way to do it is to tell a story, whether it's a story about me or whether it's a story about them, because many times when I'm working with them one-on-one or face-to-face with groups, um, they want to know how things work. They want to know, but honestly, the biggest thing I was concerned about is being, and I've had parents and people not be receptive to some things because they feel it's too scary, for kids. So I did my best to make it less scary and more of a little story about, oh, he got bit, and then, oh, darn, he got sick, you know? So not everybody gets bit, not that gets bit, it gets sick. It's a 50-50 chance. So storytelling is the best way to get into kids' minds and in their enjoyment area of their brain.
Yeah, even in Bible, so whatever Jesus Christ has told, it is only in stories.
Exactly. Why not follow a good leader?
Yeah. So, what advice would you give to parents who are just starting to learn about Lyme disease and how they can protect their families, especially young children, from tick-borne illnesses?
I would certainly let them know that, number one, they don't have to be fearful. They have to know that it's an important safety um, skill for everyone in the family. We would not walk across the street and not either watch the signs or look both ways, would we? So I related to that, age old crossing the street idea. It is as important to look both ways, watch the signs when you're crossing the street. It is as important to wear repellent, do a tick check, and remove properly and quickly as possible. It because it will impact them. And I tell them my story. I never remember getting a tick bite, but I grew up on a farm, so I'm sure I had them. I didn't get a rash. All of the things that are there that are foolproof, and that if a tick bit you, um, those things, if you get sick right away, I didn't get sick right away. My symptoms lingered for 15 years until I got diagnosed. So I would prefer that they would know all the prevention steps. It's not 100% guarantee. I get it. But it is a much better guarantee that you have done everything you possibly can to avoid
Yes.
a tick bite.
Yeah. So you have worked with various organizations like AmeriCorps to raise awareness about Lyme disease. How important it is for organizations and workplaces to educate their employees about Lyme disease prevention.
Oh my goodness. Obviously, I feel it's very important because many organizations and businesses and whatever have people going out into the field, have people who they depend upon every day for their input with the organization or with the business or whatever. If they get a tick bite, they could lose their valuable employee from
Mm,
days off, and the cost just magnifies when someone gets sick with Lyme disease, and especially if it goes undiagnosed and becomes chronic. People have lost their jobs, their homes, their families, everything to this
mm,
disease, and I've seen that happen with many, many people, and I only knew my story in the beginning, but I have
mm,
come to learn many, many people's stories. So it is cost
mm,
effective to teach people how to take care of themselves,
mm.
and it's just humane to teach people safety tips.
Yeah. So where do you see the Lyme disease education and awareness going in the future? Are there any upcoming projects or initiatives you are excited about
Well,
that could
yes.
make a big difference? Yeah.
Oh, that would make a big difference. My initiative is to get Tick Alert, the quest for safety. It's a game. It doesn't take long. I've had schools, this is maybe another thing, say, they don't need it or they don't have time for it. Um So for me, the biggest initiative is to get it implemented in schools, even if it's just a yearly basis when they bring it out in the spring and they talk about it. I have written the curriculum because of my educational background and doctoral thesis. I have written a curriculum that integrates it with all kinds of subjects, math, science, social studies, reading, English, all of them. I have integrated it so that it isn't an extra, so that I would just love to see it everywhere, that everybody's learning about it, and everybody most people are doing their very best to protect themselves.
Even now, even CDC is accepting that 300,000 people are getting infected per year. Still, that seriousness and weightage for giving an awareness, it is not coming up.
Yeah, they're actually admitting to a 500,000. So you think about a 500,000 people over the last, okay, 50 years we've known about it, more or less. 30 years, definitely. How
Mm,
many millions of people have been affected by it?
affected.
Many, yes.
Yeah. And what advice would you offer to the people struggling with the Lyme disease, as well as those advocating for more awareness and resources to combat it?
Well, those who are struggling with Lyme disease, my heart goes out to them. It took me 7 years to get well after 15 years of not being diagnosed. My vice president, Cassidy, the one who's on my website, got really sick at 14. She's 27 and still working through symptoms. So, um, I just feel like um, everybody should be doing their ultimate best to get that information. And once they have it, reach out, join groups that are Lyme literate groups. Um, I have done everything from Western medicine to Eastern medicine to anything that would make me feel well. So sometimes you just have to possibly get out of your comfort zone about what you're normally used to treating an illness and try other things. That's one thing I would say.
And in your book, No Ticks Place, you describe ticks as hidden dangers. Can you explain why ticks are so dangerous and why it is critical to understand the risk they pose beyond just Lyme disease?
Well, yeah, because a tick can carry multiple co-infections, bacterias and viruses. And we've learned that with the research that's going on. Powassan virus a few years ago came out in New York and it was deadly for the person. In 3 days, the person was dead. So we thought that ticks would cause Lyme disease. It's an easy treatment.
Hmm.
Take some antibiotics is the protocol, but even Dr. Burrascano was saying in a recent interview that the protocol for giving antibiotics, and you guys, you can look it up, um, it's the one particular antibiotic they recommend is only an inhibitor. It doesn't kill the bacteria, it just stops it for a little while. And what we've
Hmm.
learned, the researchers have learned that it doesn't just stay in the bloodstream, it goes into passes into organs and things and causes tremendous problems trying to treat it and trying to find it and trying to get it out of the system. Bacteria and viruses, you can have multiple. I had at least 3, and then after treatment, we unfolded, I had 15 different bacterias and viruses in my system. So it really can, and it makes you more vulnerable because it taxes the immune system. It makes you so
Yes.
much more vulnerable to everything else that may come your way,
Hmm.
including some deadly hidden dangers. Cancers have been found at with people who have weakened immune systems. So once that tick gets a bite and it is carrying a bacteria, virus, or multiple, your whole life becomes unsettled and possibly up unbelievably changed.
Hmm. What resources would you recommend for families dealing with the Lyme disease, such as educational materials, medical professionals, or online communities?
Well, honestly, I spend so much time with the educational piece. I would say go on a search online, check in with your medical communities. I talk to my local health department, find out who knows what. Look at the researchers, and hey, what I did finally is look into research and figure out. Talk to. There's some great books out. Bitten is one of those great books that talks
Yeah.
about lots of things, and there are many, many coming out all the time. Pam Anderson also just wrote a book about her journey with her daughter. Sorry, Pam, I forgot. I don't have the title on the tip of my head, but yes, there's so much out there now that you could pull and think and read. The first book I ever read was Polly Murray's book. What was it called? Oh my gosh. See, that's the Lyme. I always blame it on the Lyme when I can't recall with information. Something Circle, Polly Murray. Anyway, um, and she was the first one to bring this to light in written word. So yeah, reach out, figure things out. I mean, many Lyme people who are able to pull information, um, there's a lot to do, and be discerning about it. Not all information is the best information,
Mm.
so be discerning.
Yeah. So, how do you feel about the current state of public policy regarding Lyme disease? Are there any improvements or changes you would like to see in how Lyme disease is addressed at a national level?
Absolutely. I work with the Center for Lyme Action, and just to continue the research, which is the funding right now is in jeopardy, as all many funding sources are. Um, just working with the we now have the correlation of chronic Lyme and chronic COVID. So now researchers are starting to see the similarities between a bacteria or virus that causes so much havoc with the body that sometimes it's hard to eradicate. So those kinds of things. I want to see more um with I guess the current protocol for treating Lyme disease. I'd love to see it widened and accepting of all options or many options, maybe not all, but many options. I know those other options help me to get well. I would love to see that to be less. And insurance companies, please pay for it because people are suffering and cannot afford it. I mortgaged my house to get well. And
Oh,
yes, and so I had the ability and the opportunity to do that, but, that also was a risk because if I didn't get well, I would have lost it. So, yeah, that's a big one.
so, for a rough understanding, so how much a typical treatment will cost for a person with who got chronic Lyme disease?
In excess of 100,000 to 200,000 and up.
And
It's
is it
dependent on the person, the illness,
mm,
all of these things.
mm.
Sorry.
So it goes into the consultation or into the medicines, that amount?
Oh, I mean, both. I mean, like, let's see, in 2003, I was paying $800 a visit every month,
Mm,
and I submitted a claim to my insurance company, and they out of $3,500, I might have gotten 7, and I had to wait a long time. In the meantime, I'm steady racking up bills. And at
mm,
one point, I had to stop treatment because I couldn't afford it.
mm, mm,
So, yes, all of these things. It and many others have talked about more. I mean, my insurance company was covering my prescriptions, but not everybody has that
mm.
luxury. So
Lecture.
I know my dad was on medic he was 65 plus. I don't recall exactly. Um, hmm, I would have to calculate that right now. But anyway, his he had to pay $600 a bottle for one of the medicines that I paid nothing for.
Oh.
So within 6 months, he was done. He could not afford to continue
Mm,
because he was in his older age and
mm,
not working anymore.
mm.
And that was in 2003, that was $600 a bottle.
Oh,
So
mm.
there's your example for that.
How important is it to use media platforms for spreading Lyme disease awareness? And what strategies work best?
Oh my, you're talking to the wrong person. I'm the worst at social media platforms. I think it is a great thing. I don't know what keeps me from doing it, but social media platforms are very helpful, but also they're not monitored. So we don't know if we're getting all the information that is credible, and I say that lightly because every Lyme patient, if they're talking on a social platform, they're talking about their story for the most part.
Mm,
And if it's their story, it's their story. They are experiencing whatever they're experiencing.
yes.
I think, um, the organizations, the large organizations that are doing their very best to notify patients about where they can get information and continuing to update that information either monthly or how often. I know I watch those and I look for information, just like the interviews with specific physicians that are treating Lyme, and all that they've learned is invaluable.
Mhm. So, what motivates you to keep working, especially when raising awareness about Lyme disease when it gets challenging? How do you stay positive and focused?
I'm going to tell you, as I go through and the K to 12 curriculum is still not integrated, that's a challenge,
Mhm.
right?
Yes.
So I look at the next thing, how can I do this? Maybe if I do it differently. That's how
Mhm.
actually I was contacted about a game because I had a game that I did live last year, still do. Um,
Mhm.
but someone asked me if I could make it into a board game because they had their presentation that they did to educate, but they needed something to follow up.
Mhm.
So when we work with other organizations, we end up creating value for others that can be
Mhm.
used. So that keeps me motivated when somebody says, "Okay, but I need a board game to do this." And I said, "Give me 6 to 8 weeks. I'll come up with an idea. We'll figure out." And that's how that game came to be. Took longer than 6 to 8 weeks, that was just the idea.
Mhm.
And then to get it all pulled together, yes. So then what it is challenging at times because there are times when you put all of your effort into something, and then it's not as received as you would feel like you would love it to be, so that you could help people. It's not for me, it's to help the people
Yeah.
and to help them become more educated, more knowledgeable, and then it doesn't go very far, or at least that's how it doesn't go as far as I'd love it to be.
Mhm.
So, yeah, that's how I stay motivated. Well, what if I try it this way? I'm always looking for another solution.
Mhm. Can you please detail on the Lyme education and awareness summer tour that you conducted? So
Oh,
you got a reach of 15,000 children across 16 states. So how you did that?
well, number 1, it was over 7 years, including this year. Um,
Mhm.
and then we were on a roll. We did it, well, I'm saying we, Cassidy and I,
Mhm.
got connected, and in 2018, I believe we saw about 1,500. And
Mhm.
then, so we got that moving, and in 2019, we saw over 5,000, 6,000 kids in 8 weeks in 16 states. So then 2020 hit and we couldn't go anywhere. And
Mhm.
2021 was still a little iffy. So then we started again, and I started teaching in schools, and I have other people who are teaching in schools. So what we do is, and then we started back, and we've been doing thousands of kids every year. So that's how we've reached that many kids. And it's taken 7 years though. So that's an
But
average of
but it
2.25.
is really incredible.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Um, one of my people said, "Nance, we got to talk about statistics. Come on, you're a math teacher. You got to talk about stats." And I'm like, "Oh, we did that much?" I just go and have fun and teach.
Mhm.
And so I have great people that keep track of that.
So I'm having a rapid fire questions. So well, you can answer it in one word or in a one or two sentences.
Uh,
So what is the most common misconception about Lyme disease?
it's immediately curable, and there isn't any chronic Lyme.
Mhm. If you had one piece of advice for someone living in a tick-borne area, what would it be?
Repellent, daily tick checks, and
Mhm.
remove.
What is your favorite resource for Lyme disease education?
My favorite resource is credible, researched documentation.
If you could change one thing about how Lyme disease is treated, what would it be?
I said this earlier, to open it up to it's not just one pill that for a short time, for
Hmm.
longer and other options as well.
Okay. So, what is the best way to educate children about Lyme disease prevention in a fun way?
Games and stories.
Games. Hmm. Okay. So, by this we are going to conclude this conversation. So, Dr. Nancy, so thank you for your for joining us and sharing your powerful story and insights. You are truly inspiring, and we deeply appreciate you being here today. To all our listeners, thank you for tuning in to this meaningful conversation. In this episode, if this episode resonated with you, please share it with someone who may need it. And don't forget to follow us for more real stories from the Lyme community. Until next time, stay strong, stay hopeful, and keep supporting one another.
Thank you so
So,
much.